All right, so today we're going to look into this new betting platform, and
Mhm.
it's built on the Cardano blockchain.
Interesting.
And you sent over their white paper, and yeah, it looks like they're trying to do something pretty different here.
Yeah.
And what caught your eye, it seems, is how they're using Cardano native tokens
Right.
for betting, even meme coins.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, who doesn't love the idea of low fees and no minimum bets?
Right. What's fascinating about this platform is how they're trying to approach this idea of decentralized betting.
Yeah.
So, unlike traditional bookmakers, you know,
Yeah.
this platform uses the Cardano blockchain to try and create a system that
Pretty
is
much
more
shaken.
transparent and, in theory, should be more secure.
Okay, so how would that actually look like for someone who wants to place a bet?
Well, think of a system where every transaction is recorded on a public ledger,
Right.
viewable by anyone.
Okay.
That's the essence of blockchain.
Got it.
And so this inherent transparency could potentially minimize the need for a central authority,
Okay.
which could make the system less prone to manipulation.
So instead of trusting a
Mhm.
company, you're trusting the technology.
Exactly. And if it works as intended,
Yeah.
cutting out the middleman
Right.
could mean lower fees
Lower.
compared to traditional platforms.
That makes sense. Now, the white paper mentions
Yeah.
using Cardano native tokens,
Right.
including meme coins. So
Huh?
how does that even work for betting?
Well, it's a pretty novel approach.
Yeah.
Instead of converting your tokens to a standard currency like dollars or something,
Right.
you can just use them directly to place bets.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so you could bet your favorite meme coin on a sporting event
Interesting.
or an election.
That's pretty cool. I bet that's a big draw for people who are already
I think so.
involved in the Cardano ecosystem.
Yeah.
Speaking of the betting process itself,
Yeah.
the white paper makes it sound surprisingly simple.
Yeah, simplicity seems to be like a core design principle here.
Yeah. From what I understand, you choose between two options for an event,
Right.
like Team A wins or Team B
Right.
wins.
Yeah.
Then you send your tokens to a specific address,
Uh-huh.
and then when the event ends, the winning side takes 90% of the pot.
Right.
So I'm wondering how that 90-10 split impacts things.
Right.
You know, it's obviously very different from traditional betting
Yeah,
platforms.
it's a key point.
Yeah.
This unique split
Uh-huh.
not only incentivizes participation, but also ensures the platform's sustainability, which,
Yeah.
is something you highlighted as being important for you when you're looking at investments,
Exactly.
long-term viability. And
Right.
traditional platforms often take a much larger cut.
That makes sense. So they're trying to balance attracting users with,
Yes.
keeping the lights on, so to speak.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance. And this approach seems to address that, at least on paper.
Yeah. Now, on to the techie stuff. The white paper talks about a bunch of features
Okay.
designed to make the whole experience smooth and,
Uh-huh.
well, cheat-proof. Right.
For example, they talk a lot about automation and real-time updates.
Yeah, that's crucial in a decentralized system.
Yeah.
The platform's designed to continuously monitor the status of events,
Okay.
so users always have the latest information.
Got it.
If an event is frozen or closed, the platform automatically updates.
So no funny business with people trying to sneak in bets after an event is over.
Well, the system is designed to prevent that.
Okay.
They use time-stamping techniques on the blockchain to make sure that
Oh.
late bets aren't accepted, and that ensures fairness for all the participants.
Okay, so they've got that covered.
Yeah.
What about verifying transactions?
Right.
How do they make sure that everything's above board?
Well, in addition to the real-time updates,
Yeah.
the platform also validates all the transactions before an event is logged.
Yeah.
So this ensures that all bets are legitimate and recorded correctly on the blockchain.
Got it. Checks and balances in place. But what happens if an event is canceled
Okay.
or ends in a draw? That's where their refund mechanism comes in.
Okay.
The host of the event can trigger an automated refund process.
Right.
And to keep things efficient, the fees for this are shared among everyone who bet on that specific outcome.
So instead of each person paying a full transaction fee to get their money back,
Right.
the cost is spread out.
It becomes much cheaper for everyone involved.
That's a relief. It would be a shame to lose money on a canceled event
Right.
just because of fees.
Exactly.
Speaking of fees, one thing that stood out from the white paper was their commitment to minimizing costs.
Yeah.
They break down all the fees involved and are surprisingly transparent about it.
Transparency is a recurring theme here, and that's a good thing.
Right.
The fees are clearly laid out.
Yeah.
Network transaction fees for placing bets and receiving winnings, a 10% fee that's split between the platform and the event host, and even the tiny leftover amounts of ADA, what they call dust, are accounted for and distributed.
It's interesting that even the tiny leftover amounts are dealt with. I have to ask, what is dust ADA exactly?
So dust refers to these tiny amounts of ADA that are left over from transactions.
Okay.
Usually these amounts are so small they're practically unusable on their own.
Right.
But this platform, in the interest of transparency and fairness,
Yeah.
accounts for even this dust and distributes it proportionally.
That's a level of detail I wasn't expecting. It does make them seem more trustworthy.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about managing the volume of bets.
Okay.
Since we're dealing with blockchain technology, there are limits on how many transactions can be processed at once. So
Right.
how does the platform handle that?
They've implemented a system to prevent overload.
Oh,
Each event has a cap on the total number of bets allowed.
okay.
And there's a progress bar that shows users how close they are to that limit.
I see.
Once that cap is reached, the event automatically freezes.
So they've built in a safety valve. It seems like they've really put a lot of thought into making this platform user-friendly,
Yeah.
even for people who might be new to blockchain.
You're picking up on a key takeaway here.
Yeah.
While the underlying technology might be complex, the user experience is designed to be straightforward.
Okay.
And this is especially apparent in their emphasis on a well-designed front end.
Speaking of the front end, the white paper goes into detail about the features they've implemented to make the experience seamless and secure. One thing that caught my eye was their focus on real-time updates.
Okay.
They mentioned the page constantly checks wallet balances and the status of events.
And that's not just for show.
Right.
It's a critical part of maintaining accuracy and preventing any kind of manipulation.
Right.
Remember, in this decentralized world, information is power.
Right. So users can be confident they're seeing the most up-to-date information.
Yes.
They also talk about dynamic page views, which sounds pretty high-tech.
Essentially, the page automatically reloads whenever an event status changes.
Okay.
So if an event goes from active to frozen,
Right.
the page refreshes to display the correct information, preventing users from accidentally placing bets after the deadline.
So always up-to-date and no confusion. Got it.
Right.
What about their anti-cheating measures?
Yeah.
I'm always a little wary of anything that seems too good to be true.
They've taken specific steps to prevent users from exploiting the system,
Okay.
like using the timestamping technique we discussed earlier.
Right. To
The-
prevent. It seems like they've tried to anticipate potential loopholes.
Yeah.
It definitely gives me a greater sense of confidence in the platform's integrity.
Good.
So it seems like they've covered a lot of bases when it comes to security and user experience.
Yeah.
But all this tech talk has got me thinking.
Right.
What does it all mean in the bigger picture?
Yeah, that's the real question, isn't it?
Like, what are the broader implications here?
We've talked about the technical features, the
Yeah.
security, but what does it all mean for the future of betting and even beyond that?
Exactly. We can see how this platform is addressing some of the issues with traditional betting. But does it have the potential to be something more?
I think it does.
Okay.
Remember how we discussed how it uses the Cardano blockchain
Yeah.
to create this decentralized system?
Yeah. The idea of cutting out the middleman and giving more control to users.
Right, and that could signify a fundamental shift in how we think about trust and control.
Oh.
Not just in betting, but potentially in other industries too.
Okay. I'm following, but I need you to paint a picture for me.
Okay.
What could this actually look like in practice?
Imagine a world where betting isn't confined to platforms controlled by large corporations.
Okay.
What if communities could create and manage their own betting events using a platform like this?
Like a group of friends pooling their favorite meme coins on who's going to win the next big esports tournament.
Exactly. Or a local community betting on the outcome of a neighborhood fundraiser.
Wow.
It opens up a lot of possibilities.
That's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
It's like taking the concept of prediction markets and putting it directly into the hands of the people.
And since everything is transparent and verifiable on the blockchain,
Right.
there's this built-in level of trust that's often lacking in more traditional systems.
So it's not just about betting on sports or events anymore.
Right.
It becomes a tool for decision-making and maybe even community building.
Precisely. It's about using this decentralized technology to create new forms of social interaction and economic activity.
No, that's something I can get behind.
Yeah.
It sounds like this platform could be a testing ground for all sorts of new applications within the Cardano ecosystem and beyond.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
what really caught your eye, right?
Yeah, the potential ripple effect.
Yeah.
If this platform can create a truly secure and transparent system for betting,
Right.
what other areas could benefit from a similar approach?
Ooh. I like where this is going.
A fascinating thought experiment.
We could see similar platforms for things like crowdfunding, prediction markets.
Yeah.
Even voting systems.
Exactly.
Things that rely on trust and transparency.
The possibilities are quite exciting. It's like we're at the beginning of a shift towards more transparent, decentralized, and user-centric systems.
That's a lot to process.
Yeah.
But in a good way, it feels like we're looking at the very early stages of something big here.
That's what makes exploring these new technologies so fascinating.
Yeah.
We're not just observers.
Right.
We're potentially witnessing a change in how things work.
I love that perspective.
Yeah.
It's not just about understanding what these technologies can do,
right,
but also about imagining how they can be used to improve things.
And that's what I find interesting about this platform.
Yeah.
It's not just about making money. It's about giving people more control and building a more equitable system.
I like that. Now, for our listener who is eager to learn more,
sure,
where can they go?
Well, the white paper links to the platform itself.
Okay.
Your listener can explore the features, maybe even place a few bets.
Right.
See how it all works.
Perfect. We'll be sure to include that link for them. Before we move on, though, I want to go back to something you mentioned about this platform being a potential model for other things.
Okay.
What makes this specific platform stand out?
It's the potential, as we discussed, for this platform to act as a blueprint for building similar systems in other areas.
Right.
The real test will be if it can deliver on its promises.
Right. The key takeaways seem to be transparency, user control, and minimizing costs.
Yeah.
Are those the magic ingredients for success in this new decentralized world?
They're certainly crucial elements.
Yeah.
But I think there's another ingredient that's often overlooked.
I'm intrigued. What's the secret sauce?
Community.
Ah, yes, the human element.
Exactly. We get so caught up in the technology that we forget about the people.
Right.
This platform isn't just a piece of technology.
Yeah.
It's a community of users who believe in its potential.
Yeah.
That sense of ownership and shared purpose is what will ultimately determine its success.
Just like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
The more people believe in it and use it, the more valuable it becomes.
That's the power of a good idea.
That's the power of a good idea, and that's the beauty of decentralized systems.
Right.
They're not reliant on a single entity for success.
Exactly.
They're driven by the collective efforts of a distributed community.
Right.
So to really understand the significance of this platform, we need to look beyond the technical details and appreciate the community aspect.
Absolutely. The technology is just the enabler. It's the people who will decide how it impacts the world.
Well said. This has been a really interesting deep dive.
Yeah, it has.
We've gone from the technical details of the platform to its potential impact on the future of decentralized systems.
Right.
It's a lot to take in.
And we've only scratched the surface.
That's the exciting part.
It is.
There's so much more to explore and discover in this space. I always learn so much from these conversations.
Me too. And that's what we'll continue to do here on the Deep Dive.
We'll keep digging, keep asking questions, and keep you informed about these new technologies.
Because knowledge is power, especially in a world that's changing as rapidly as ours.
Beautifully put. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave our listener with something to think about.
All right, let's hear it.
If this platform is successful in building a thriving community, what other industries or sectors could benefit from this approach?
Okay.
What other systems could be transformed by decentralization?
That's an excellent question, and one that I hope our listener will give some thought to.
It really challenges us to think beyond this one platform and consider the wider potential.
And that's what makes this such an exciting time. We're not just watching new technologies emerge.
Right.
We're playing a part in shaping the future.
On that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this exploration.
Always a pleasure to discuss these fascinating topics with you.
And with you, our amazing listener, we'll be back soon with another deep dive.
You know, it's interesting. This white paper suggests that they have a much broader vision.
Okay.
One that goes beyond just betting.
Now you've got me really intrigued. What else is up their sleeve?
Well, remember how they emphasized community engagement?
Yes.
And the utility of Cardano native tokens?
Yes, that was a big part of what made this platform stand out to me and to our listener as well.
Yeah, they're clearly looking to build something more than just a place to place bets.
Right.
It seems like they're envisioning this platform as more of a hub for token holders to interact, engage with projects, and even have a say in how these projects are governed.
Whoa, that's taking things to a whole new level.
Yeah.
Are they thinking of building like a decentralized social platform? Centered around shared investments and interests?
That's the impression I get.
Okay.
They talk about integrating features that allow users to connect,
Right.
discuss upcoming events, and even vote on proposals that could influence the direction of the platform itself.
So it's not just about placing bets. It's about having a voice.
Right.
And helping to shape the future of the platform. Maybe even the future of those projects that they're interacting with.
Yeah, and that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
It's a shift from users being passive consumers to active participants.
I like that it's like the difference between watching a game and actually getting in there and playing.
That level of engagement is powerful.
Yeah.
It can create a sense of ownership and loyalty that's hard to find on those corporate-driven platforms we talked about.
It sounds like they're building a mini ecosystem within Cardano.
Yeah.
A space where people can come together and create something new.
And that's a compelling vision, using blockchain technology not just for financial transactions,
Right.
but for building communities and bringing people together.
This takes it far beyond just another betting platform.
Right.
It makes you think about how technology can be used to empower people and communities.
It's about trust, transparency, and collaboration.
It really does feel like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible here.
I think you're right. This platform is just one example of the incredible things being built in the world of decentralized applications.
It sounds like our listener has a lot to think about and explore.
Definitely. We've given them a lot to digest today.
Well, that's what the deep dive is all about, taking a complex topic.
Right.
And breaking it down so our listener can walk away feeling more informed and maybe even a little bit inspired.
I always enjoy our conversations.
As do I.
Until next time.
And to our listener, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.